Oh boy, I can't wait to play Borderlands 3. Just gotta launch Steam and... Oh no. Stop trying to automatically download Fortnite, please. I don't want that. Borderlands 3 is finally here. Or almost here for you people that want to wait 6 months for it to come to Steam. And as someone who is addicted to the first 2 games of this now 10-year-old franchise, not the pre-sequel though, does the third game really offer enough content or improvements to justify its full price release? Upon starting the game, there was few things that I immediately noticed. For one, the animations are a lot better. Moving around in first person looked a lot more fluid as you jumped, the way that your character actually had impact when landing, as well as crouching with various different forms of guns and the gun animations themselves. Speaking of guns, the shooting feels way better in this game. There was some really dumb thing they did in the old game where you had to improve your accuracy stat, or you would just be waving around your gun like someone was tickling you in the armpit, but now it just feels nicer immediately to shoot. Yeah, you can improve your accuracy still, but for the most part, where you point is where you're gonna shoot, and your guy's not gonna wave his gun around. The other thing is the game just looks nicer. It still has its distinct borderline cell shading look, but the cell shading is used more for pointing out details rather than outlining certain things like rendering something from the distance. Basically, it doesn't look like you're playing Smash on the 3DS anymore. The movement is also a lot better. You can do things like a slide or vault over certain obstacles, making platforming in general much easier than just doing weird jumps and doing weird grenade jumps. Other than those immediate things I noticed right when turning on the game, it's still Borderlands, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you were really into the first 2 games, you will love this game, but if you didn't like the series at all, I can't see this the one changing your opinion and suddenly making you hooked on it. Although if the thing that turned you off before of the series was that the shooting felt so awkward in the beginning because of the accuracy stat thing, then I can see this bringing you back, since off the bat the shooting feels much more fluid. They did make it a lot more interesting with story missions having bosses and the areas being more streamlined, where you go to a bunch of different small areas than just being in a wide open space and then having to do a million side missions like the other games. So things are always feeling fresh and you don't feel bombarded with a bunch of side missions. There's just a few per small area and unlocking areas is pretty quick. So again, it just overall lent itself to a more fresh feeling. I always felt like I was going somewhere new throughout the game. Whereas with the old games, I kind of got sick of staying in the same spot and felt like I was just spending way too much time going back and forth in the same big general wasteland area. The game does this well by having you go on a spaceship, the new Sanctuary, sorry about little spoilers, where you can actually travel planets. But the cool thing is the second you travel the planet, you can fast travel from any area to any other area on a new planet. So this fast travel system is so much better than in the old games. You don't need to go to one of those beacons. You can just fast travel anywhere to any single planet and any sub area and any single planet. So that's a big nice change. The way the game handles missions is a lot better as well. You can cycle your missions while just playing the game, which is a much needed better quality of life changes from the other game. So you can easily just cycle your missions and then teleport to any sub area in any planet, just making sure that you're the appropriate level for the side mission so that you're not over leveled for it or way too under leveled for it. And the progression is nice. If you're doing a main mission, typically you got to do just 1 or 2 side missions in that sub area and you'll be of level, or you might even be immediately of the level to do the next main mission. You can just easily go from one mission to the other, doing a few side missions, which never feels like a chore. They're always well written. It is a Gearbox Borderlands game. Some hit or miss writing, a little bit of cringe here and there, but it's all fun. All I need is a good poop or butt joke and I'll be laughing. Like launching this man out of a porta potty and getting a poop launcher, complete with fecal splattering sounds as you shoot it, and telling me that I'm full of shit, but that's a good thing. I have a shit launcher right now. It shoots.
Poo launcher still?
Yeah. The other massive quality of life change is now you just pick up loot. You just collect the ammo or the money right away. You don't need to hold the pickup button to grab everything. It just automatically magnets to you, which is a great change. I don't see why that wasn't in the old games anyways. I don't even think I can go back to the other Borderlands now that you just open a crate or walk over loot and you don't have to hold the pickup button every time. It's just such an obvious change. And I guess the last good quality of life change I can say is there's no more more ammo shop. You can just buy your ammo at a gun store or just press Q to load up all your ammo immediately. I think that that's mostly what I've been saying in this review though, just quality of life changes. And that's because I'm trying to speak to the person who already played Borderlands. If this is your first Borderlands, try to play it with a friend and look for gun rarity and gun prices. If you're into shooters or RPGs though, you will have a good time. Now, this is a full-priced game though, and if you get bored right away, then it can't really justify it. So honestly, if this is your first Borderlands, you might want to try one of the first two games, or wait till it inevitably goes on a Steam sale before you get it at full price to try it out. Unless you look at it now and you think that this is something you're gonna like, you probably will like it. It is what it is. It's a shoot and loot fun game with cool little abilities and a nice little RPG mechanics. And the last major change from the other games is the way that the actual class progression works and the abilities work. In the other games, you would get a single special move and then you can pick between 3 different trees as to how to upgrade your character's abilities. Some of those trees would lend to better gun skills, even being specific to guns such as rocket launchers or sniper rifles, or specific to your abilities, making your ability more powerful or changing its elemental stat, things like that. In this game, however, each tree tends to have an ability, and you can have different side abilities with that, making each character more significant because mid-game you can reset your skill tree, change your ability, and it feels like you're playing an entirely different character, given how the other 3 games handle this. Again, this lends itself to keeping the game fresh. I went with Flak because I wanted a pet, of course, how could you not? And I had fun switching between the monkey and the little skag. Oh, look at the little guy. But seeing the other classes is the same thing. Now talking about the fun stuff, they added a lot more customizations to this game. You can do emotes, which is always hilarious, especially with friends. So many wacky costumes. By the way, changing the costume color for Flak also changes the costume color for your pet, which is great. And I'm assuming it's the same with Zane and Mose with their mech and drone, where it would change the costume color of that. I'm only 20 hours into the game, playing it a little bit over again with my friend Hero Magnus. But I'm pretty sure there's the ability to customize your gun itself in the game, which is a great addition if you get really attached to one and don't want to put it away in the vault just quite yet. Actually, upon doing some research, it doesn't look like you can customize the weapon parts themselves, but this was only viewable through a third-party viewer for the old games, where people could modify and create their own weapons. So it's good that Gearbox noticed a demand for something that people went to another app for and just put it in the game. For people that were really nitpicking for what they needed for their class and for each part of that specific weapon, for them to be able to look at it and then look for the same weapon with a more desirable part. The guns are also very unique, with allowing you the ability to actually swap its mechanics, reminding me a lot of Perfect Dark, where each gun can have a special ability. Now, this isn't only just cool and diversifies the guns, but is also very useful. This is because certain elementals are good against certain health types, for example, shock versus shield or flame versus flesh, and having the ability to have a single weapon with multiple elementals can allow you to quickly change to what's effective versus going into your inventory and swapping out for a gun with that elemental. You can also change the skin color of the gun itself, as well as adding trinkets. Just so many little details to customizations that would make you want to show off to your friends. Adding a lot of replayability, because when you go back, you can pimp out your new characters that you create to grind them all the way to endgame. Speaking of playing with other people though, I've had trouble doing that exact thing because the majority of my friends want this game on Steam, and I don't blame them. So do many other people. In fact, the Borderlands 2 forums on Steam is flooded with technical help questions for Borderlands 3 because the Epic Game Store doesn't have a help for them. And I know I'm saying impressions for Borderlands 3 and now I'm griping over the Epic Game Store, but it's important because this is a game about playing with your friends and is much better with playing with your friends. The multiplayer forums, however, are owned by Gearbox, so I'm gonna assume when the game comes out on Steam there will be quote-unquote cross-play and that people playing on the Epic Game Store version can play with Steam. I'll be excited once this game comes out and I can play with them. But as it stands, playing with friends is as fun as it ever has been. There's a new fun competitive mode where your level stays the same. So if a level 3 is playing with a level 20, they will keep the respective stats and you gotta get your own loot. And cooperative will do the same thing, where if someone has a higher level and joins someone with a lower level, it will change their level down to suit the player that they joined. But going back to people flooding the Borderlands 2 Steam forum with technical problems, I had my own technical problem. The game just wouldn't launch at first for a while. I had to verify a bunch of stuff, you know, check all the updates, and then a bunch of fiddling with options. We got it running. In game itself, I noticed a really annoying bug. Playing it on my own and then playing it with my friend Hero Magnus, I had the same problem occur where a side mission would start and an NPC would be saying something through the comms over and over to you, but you were doing another mission. I had Claptrap yelling at me the entire time to stealth slide over and over again while I was just continuing the game. Again, this happened both playthroughs, and getting to the big brain Megamind boss. Had Girly talking to me about ringing the bell for some coffee. Shut up, I don't care about you and your Starbucks. I think the game had initiated a side quest and didn't realize that it wasn't the active quest. Just browsing through the forums, it seems there's a big problem with split screen, as well as it being incredibly choppy in menus for PS4, which might be the same for Xbox. I have noticed no issues at all on PC. Seems the general consensus is that split screen is unplayable, and that on PC, aiming down sights makes the game chug. I haven't noticed that myself. Most of the game I've been using snipers though, and no problems at all with aiming down the barrel, but it is an issue that exists, and it's something that I should point out that it hasn't been the most successful launch in terms of game stability. Hence why people are flooding the Borderlands 2 forums on Steam instead of going to Reddit or going to the Gearbox forum, if they even have any. Overall, you're gonna get your value out of this game if you enjoy the Borderlands format. Like I said, I already have 20 hours in it. There's a bunch of post-game stuff with free post-game content updates, such as one for Halloween coming up. I haven't experienced them yet myself because this is just an impressions video. I still haven't beaten the game, but overall, I am very impressed with the number of quality of life changes they added, as well as making each class very interesting, giving you the ability to swap between all the different skill trees, making the loadout incredibly different, and having the abilities more integrated into the kit. For my example, having a pet out all the time with flak versus needing to press a button and then you get a short boost or short little special ability like an Overwatch ultimate. It's more like it's always active and you're just managing these cooldowns versus using some big ultimate every like 10 minutes. And overall, it makes things more interesting. If the thought of just a better Borderlands experience isn't good for you, then I suggest wait for it to come to Steam and then wait for it to go on sale. But if you're a fan of the first two games or the pre-sequel, get this game eventually. Just try to play with friends too. If you're new here, get your badass ranked by subscribing and hitting that like or dislike, because that helps me out. And hit them bells for my next discussion, impression, or news video. Bye, you smelly butt stallions.